Hey everybody, welcome. Excited to have you guys here. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. We're going to be covering something really powerful today, very simple strategy, but really important for anybody who's wanting to make sure that they have relapse prevention. So again, today's going to be highly relevant for anybody who is wanting to make sure that they can not only overcome anxiety, but also make sure that they can avoid any kind of relapses, because I'm going to be walking you through basically what has become not only the strategy I've used that's kept me anxiety free for 15 plus years, but also the one that's kind of become like my go-to strategy that I coach and teach clients when they're nearing the end of my program and they are deciding that they want to make sure that they can maintain an anxiety-free lifestyle long term. So if you have any questions about relapses, what causes relapses, how to avoid relapses, and then also just how to maintain lasting peace of mind, go ahead and put them in the comments. I will answer any questions that we get towards the end. But really powerful things. So firstly, to understand how to make sure that you can maintain peace of mind in the long term, we have to understand what really creates peace of mind and happiness in the short term. And there's a simple little formula, believe it or not, for figuring out how to create happiness or fulfillment. And the formula is simply when your life conditions equal your expectations. Okay, when your life conditions equal your expectations, that's what creates peace of mind and or happiness, whichever way you want to interpret that. And if you don't really believe that that's the formula for happiness, then just go ahead and put it to the test real quick. So if you think about an area in your own life that you are unhappy with, I would bet anything that that area that you're unhappy with is an area where you have certain unmet expectations. Does that seem right? And go ahead and put it in the comments too. Like, let me know which area is it you're not very happy with. And I would bet that there are unmet expectations. If there is an area that you are happy with, if you think about what area of your life that would be for a second, or maybe you wouldn't say happy, maybe you would at least just say like generally pleased or you're satisfied, that would be because your overall core expectations are met in that particular area. So for example, let's say somebody is really unhappy in their relationship. They're not feeling content. I was just chatting with somebody online about this earlier, and I asked him, if you could have it all your way, what would be different in your relationship? And he said, well, my partner would need to never yell. So he has an expectation. My partner should never yell. And then obviously his partner is yelling from time to time. So he is dissatisfied. He is unhappy because that expectation is unmet. Now, interestingly though, you can adjust your expectations, right? You can change your beliefs about what you should or should not have in your life. So there's only two things that are going to make that guy happy. Either one, he gets his wife to never yell ever again, and she might work on that. She might be willing to improve on that, but chances are she's going to yell at least one more time. That's kind of natural. Or we can change his beliefs. We can change his beliefs and expectations about what he believes he has to have in order to be happy. So he could change his belief from, if you yell at me, you disrespect me. If you yell at me, you don't love me, to being like, look, if you're yelling at me, it's just because you're expressing how you feel, right? And we could make him more strong and masculine in his core, able to handle it whenever she's yelling. So that could be something that would be a little different. So the only two ways to ever create peace of mind and happiness are either A, change your life conditions to match your expectations, or B, change your expectations to either be able to match up to where your life is currently, or to at least be something that is obtainable and achievable. So let me give you one final example, and then we'll move into the tactics of how to use this. So another example would be physical health. So a lot of people are unhappy with their physical health. Why? Because they have a set of expectations about where their physical health should be, where their fitness should be, what their weight should be. And so, again, here we only have two ways to create peace of mind and happiness. A lot of my clients are people who have, let's say they are like legitimately medically overweight. They really could lose a little bit of weight. Well, in that situation, we've got two options, right? We can either give them a new strategy, give them accountability, get rid of the internal emotional block, get rid of the conflicting beliefs, do whatever we got to do to make sure that they actually lose the weight. And if they actually lose the weight, they will be happy in that area, so long as they don't like move the target on themselves. And that's a problem that people run into sometimes, is they meet one expectation, then they change the expectation, so they're not happy anymore. Okay. The alternative is, of course, we change their beliefs, right? We could like there are some people who are overweight, but they're totally happy and pleased and fine being overweight. Why? Because their belief is big is beautiful. Their belief is, I don't need to change anything, you know? And so that's another way to create peace of mind. I'll never forget, I had a client who was one of my youngest clients. She was a 13-year-old girl, and this was many years ago, and she believed she was overweight even though she was medically underweight. So she had a set of expectations around beauty that was totally unhealthy and unnatural. And so in that situation, of course, I'm not going to help her lose more weight, right? I'm not going to have her change her life conditions to match her expectations. I had to dig in deep and help her dismantle those subconscious expectations and beliefs about what beauty really was. And so we ended up helping her create peace of mind by her getting her expectations to match up to her life conditions. So you want to think of this formula as being like those old school scales. Think of like the scales of justice. If I've got 10 unmet expectations over here, and or let's just say 10 total expectations, right? It'd be like having 10 pounds of weight. And then on the other side, let's say only 5 of those expectations are actually met. Well, then the scale is going to dip like this, right? It's going to be out of balance. Now, if I have 50 or 100 unmet expectations, the scale is going to like break, okay? And this is what creates incredibly crippling anxiety or immense depression, is when there's a huge amount of expectations that are not met. And those are usually expectations that are much more global, big picture, beliefs about things like how life is supposed to be. So like when people have a belief that says, I need to be totally certain that there's no medical symptom going on in my body at all, then they start to have anxiety because there's no way to have total, complete certainty. And that's why their mind starts to scan their body over and over and over again, because they have this expectation that just can't be met. And so you can think of anxiety, and hear me now because this is the really important part. You can think of anxiety as simply being the process of your mind trying to meet unmet expectations. I'll say that one more time because this is really, really important. If someone wants to put it in the comments, I'd greatly appreciate it. Anxiety is nothing more than your mind trying to consistently meet unmet expectations. That's it. That's all it is. So, like, let's take these couple examples again real quick. Let's say somebody is overweight and they don't like their weight. So they have an expectation that they should be 50 pounds lighter. Well, depending on how serious that belief is, like if being fit and being skinny, like being, you know, content with their body image is like totally, totally important, like it's at the top of their values list, they will, I guarantee you, have anxiety about it. Okay, they will have intrusive thoughts about it. Their mind will keep going, oh my gosh, what do I gotta do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not? The varying intrusive thoughts might vary person to person, but they will have intrusive thoughts about that unmet expectation. Guarantee it. If somebody has problems in their relationship, like that guy who believes his wife needs to stop yelling, it kind of depends on how often she's yelling, but it's probably a fair amount. I mean, he brought it up, you know, so whatever. Or maybe his belief is just she should never yell, and like he's all hung up on the fact that she yelled one time 10 years ago or something. Either way, if he's got a really, really strong expectation that she should never yell, but if she is still yelling every once in a while, then his brain is going to ruminate on it and have anxious thoughts about it, and it's going to, you know, be a big problem. Okay, so if you're having anxiety, this is the thing you need to understand. If you're having anxiety, it's because you have unmet expectations. And if you've had anxiety for a long period of time, like let's say over 6 months, you have a series of expectations that is probably not fully meetable. Okay? And so the two most common types, the two big overarching types of unmeetable expectations are trying to be certain, right? So like, and there's synonyms for this: trying to feel in control, trying to feel safe, trying to feel comfortable. Basically, whenever you're trying to like eliminate all variables, you're trying to be, completely and totally in control of the situation. Okay, that becomes a problem. The second type of unmeetable expectation is around significance. When you're trying to be good enough, right? You're trying to be perfect enough, achieve enough, people please enough, take for other people, like take care of other people's problems enough. Okay, there's a couple versions of that. Those are the two main types of expectations that are unmeetable. So, how does this all boil down to a way to create lasting peace of mind and a way to maintain it? Well, the key thing that you want to remember is progress equals happiness. Okay, so if it really is true that we feel happiness when our expectations are met, then we will start to feel peace of mind and happiness when we are at least in the process of balancing out the scales. So yes, we will feel like total nirvana, peace of mind, happiness when the expectations are fully and completely met, but we will start to feel happy and peace of mind when we are just making progress. And so one thing I have found with my clients, keeping them on the straight and narrow and making sure that they maintain an anxiety-free lifestyle, is all we have to do generally is make sure that they are making some kind of progress in each of the 6 areas of life mastery, is what we call them, the 6 areas of life mastery. Because if someone is making progress in each of these areas, it's basically impossible to feel anxious. Basically impossible, okay? And let's go through them real quick. So the first area of life mastery is your career/mission. So not everybody has to have a career, but it's very important for human beings to feel like they have some kind of a mission in this world, something that they're meant to not necessarily even accomplish, but just something that they're meant to do, right? Like some sort of service that they're meant to provide for the world. That's a really important thing that we need to have. And if you are feeling anxious and or depressed, a good possibility is you are just flat out not fulfilled in this area. And so that's one of the first things to look to as an opportunity to reduce your anxiety and reduce your depression. And I'll walk you through how to, if you're feeling like not satisfied in each of these areas, I'll walk you through a process to fix that in a second. Okay, so career and mission is the first area. The second area that we need to feel like we're making consistent progress on is our relationships. And we chunk this down into 3 kind of subcategories: romantic, friends, and family. Okay. The third area that we need to feel like we're making consistent progress on is our physical health or energy, physical health and energy. Our fourth area we need to feel like we're making progress on is our finances. Fifth is our emotions. And then sixth, and this is kind of an optional category, kind of depends on the person, is your spirituality. So like some people, religion/spirituality. Some people are religious, and basically like if you are religious, if you do believe in God and you have like a certain theology that you believe in, it's important that you are living in alignment with how you believe you should be living. Okay? So like in other words, if you are... this is a common one I run into with a lot of my clients. Like, let's say you're a Christian and you believe that you need to be going to church every week, and you believe that you need to be saying prayers once a night, and I don't know, a couple other things. Then it's important that you do those things, right? Like, again, it's important that we get your life in an equilibrium with your expectations about how your life should be. So you should either ask yourself very critically, are those expectations like really important expectations? Do they really matter to you? If they don't, then let go of them, because as a general rule, the less expectations, the easier it is to be happy. If those expectations, however, are really important to you, then you need to translate those expectations into standards. Okay, so in other words, an expectation is like a should. Like, I should go to church once a week. I should say my prayers. I should lose 25 pounds. I should, take a vacation every 12 months with my kids, right? Whatever it is. So if those expectations don't matter, get rid of them, right? Get rid of the shoulds. If they do matter, then you got to take them out of the realm of being expectations, and you've got to turn them into standards. And a standard means that it's not just something you want to do. It's not just something you think you should do. It's something that you're deciding to take seriously. It's something that is a non-negotiable for you, okay? And that's the important thing. So in each one of these areas, what do you do, right? If you've got anxiety currently, or if you're feeling distressed or overwhelmed or sad or whatever the case is, chances are you are not feeling super fulfilled and happy in at least one of those areas. At least. Usually it's multiple. Okay? So here's the way to do this. And the way that we do this with clients is we have a little worksheet. I'm happy to give the worksheet to anybody here who wants it. Just go ahead and put worksheet in the comments. I'll have somebody pull it out from our archives. But basically, we do this little worksheet where we call it the Wheel of Life. So you basically have kind of a circle. You divide it into 6 slices, kind of like a pizza. Okay, and then you rate yourself on a 0 to 10 in each of those areas. So you basically say, like, how fulfilled am I in my career? How fulfilled am I in my relationships? How fulfilled am I in my health and energy, my finances, my emotions, my spirituality? Okay, and just be honest. There's no problem with being honest. Just be very upfront and honest. If some of them are a 2 or a 3, that's okay. Some of them, what we generally find is for everybody, there's a couple areas that are okay, and there's a couple areas that are not doing so hot. So that would be step number 1. Figure out where do you really stand in each one of those areas, because you can't effectively get yourself somewhere new unless you know where you are currently. And there's no shame in just being honest about that. So that would be step 1. Okay, step 2 is where things really get interesting. Step 2 is you need to decide what is a vision for each one of those areas. Okay, so there is a quote which is, without vision, people perish. And we have found this to be an undeniable law of the human psyche. Usually, a big reason why people feel anxious or depressed is they just do not have a vision for getting what they want. They don't even know what they want in some cases, or they had an idea of what they wanted, but it's a totally unreasonable, unmeetable expectation. So sometimes you need to alter the vision. Sometimes it's a matter of creating the vision for the very first time. Okay, and so what we generally recommend for our clients is when you're describing what a 10 out of 10 would look like in each of these areas, it is wise to follow the SMART goals framework. This is an old framework. I don't know where it came from, but it tends to work really well. So, like, for example, let's say your health and energy. You wouldn't want to just say, yeah, I want to lose weight. What does that mean? Does that mean 5 pounds, 50 pounds, 500 pounds? It doesn't mean anything. It's also, there's no deadline on it. There's no, it's not specific, right? So instead of just something super generic like that, you want to go S specific, make it specific. So instead of I want to lose weight, you'd want to say, like, I want to lose 19 pounds. Okay, cool. Now that's specific. That's going in the right direction. The problem, though, with that too is we don't know for sure when it's actually going to take place. So we got to go through the other 5. The next one would be measurable. So in the instance of losing weight, when you describe it specifically like that, that makes it specific and measurable. Let me give you a different example, though. Let's say we said, I really want to have a much better, much closer relationship with my brother. Okay, let's say that's part of my vision for the area of my relationship. Okay, well, that's fairly specific, right? Like if I say I want to have a closer, deeper relationship with my brother, okay, we're getting there. It's a little tough to measure that, though. And this isn't about like trying to nerd out and be quantitative, but what you might want to do is say, okay, well, if I what does that mean to me, right? Like if I really had a closer, deeper relationship with my brother, what would that even mean? And so when I usually press my clients to think about that, they'll answer with things like, okay, I want to have a good conversation with him at least once a week. Right now we only talk once a month. I really would like to talk to him once a week. Okay, cool. So we could write that down, like talk to my brother once a week. And then you might say, yeah, I really want to see him in person, like, around once a month. It doesn't have to be every single month, but around once a month would be good. Okay, cool. Now we've made something like measurable and specific. And do you notice how we're actually like developing almost like a plan now? Like it's becoming something that could actually really be obtained. So one of the big reasons people don't make progress in their life and they don't get unstuck is they just don't have a vision at all, like none at all. Number 2 reason is it's not specific. And if it's not specific, your mind will not get involved. It won't get energized to make it happen. So if you tell yourself, I want to lose weight, your brain doesn't even know what that means. If you say, wait a minute, I want to lose 20 pounds, Okay, well, now we're talking. Now your brain can kind of like envision that and imagine it and get excited about it, right? And so now we create the possibility of making it happen. If we make something measurable, so if we say I want to have a closer relationship with my brother, I mean, that's great and all. That's a good, well-intentioned thing, like I want to lose weight. But the science of getting your ass to do things requires a series of steps. And if we don't get it specific, you're not going to take action. Okay, so make it measurable. A is actionable. Okay, so like you don't want to pick something that is outside of your control. Like you wouldn't want to say, well, I want my wife to stop yelling. That's not really actionable, right? It's not within your control. However, if you said, I want to make sure that I have an automatic reaction to my wife's yelling, which is far different. It's, I want to make sure that I stay centered and that I don't take it personally. Okay, well, cool. Now that's specific, kind of measurable, actionable. Right now we're getting somewhere, okay? The fourth one, R, is reasonable. Right, so this kind of goes without saying, right? But you maybe wouldn't want to say, like, I want to make $1 million this week, unless that's something that's actually feasible for you. T is time defined. So make it actually with a deadline, right? So there's a lot of power in going, okay, I don't want to just lose weight, but I want to lose 15 pounds. And 15 pounds is actionable, it is reasonable, and I want to lose 15 pounds in 8 weeks, right? So my deadline is going to be April 1st or whatever. Okay, now we're talking. Now it becomes something really cool. So step one, you rate yourself in terms of your satisfaction in all of those areas. Step two, you define what would a 10 out of 10 look like through the SMART framework, okay? And then number three is you create an action plan, right, which should be pretty simple. Again, here, when you create your plan, it's important just to be mindful of a couple things. Number one, you don't have to implement all of this stuff. Like, you don't have to fix every area of your life all at once. Remember, progress equals happiness. So the way that we usually boil this down when we work with clients is we try to figure out, okay, which of these items do we need to incorporate into like a daily routine? So let's say someone says they do want to lose 15 pounds in 8 weeks. Okay, well, that's probably going to require, some exercise, definitely regularly, probably daily, right? So we then would figure that out. Like, does it need to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes? When does it actually need to take place? We really get to the point where it's actually on the calendar. Same thing with the relationship thing. You don't want to just go, okay, well, I want to have a conversation with my brother every week, and I want to see him for lunch once a month. You got to schedule it. There was a quote I saw a long time ago. I don't remember where I first saw it, but it was like, when you have a goal, it's a possibility. When you have a written goal, it's a probability. When you have a scheduled plan to make the goal a reality, it's an inevitability, right? And so what a lot of people do is they have goals. Maybe they even have written goals if you're really an overachiever. But I guarantee you do not have specific detailed plans for achieving those goals locked into your calendar. Right? So one of the key things we focus on with our clients at the end of the program is making sure each and every week you have core things woven into your calendar to make sure that you are making headway and progress on each one of those areas. And again, if somebody is making progress on each one of those areas, it's basically impossible to feel anxious. It really is really, really tough because your self-esteem goes up massively, your happiness goes up massively, things start to gel, things start to improve. If you just started, think about how good you would feel. Think about one of those areas I mentioned that you've been feeling landlocked in, and imagine how good it would feel to just like make a little bit of progress. Like, oh gosh, man, that would feel so good, wouldn't it? It creates a huge amount of relief. And this is just a really important thing for the ongoing fulfillment of human beings. Like, the growth never stops, okay? Like, each one of those areas are areas that I still continue to work on and try to improve and do improve. And that's one of the big reasons why I've stayed anxiety-free for so long, right? So that's a really, really critical thing. So I outlined all the steps. That's what you would want to do to really kind of get this going. Is this every single piece of the puzzle to be anxiety-free and stay anxiety-free? No, but it is a very, 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 very good, important piece of the puzzle. So I hope it's helpful to you guys. For some reason, I cannot see any of your guys' comments, so I'm sorry. If you have questions that are unanswered, they will usually show up once I click end video. So just go ahead and put the comments in the video at the bottom. and I will be happy to answer those, or a member of my team will. And we'll be happy to get that done for you. We do also, I'll mention, have 2 client openings at the moment. So if any of you guys are in a spot where you really want to get your anxiety handled, now would be a really good time to do it. This week, we are providing a completely unconditional 7-day money-back guarantee. So basically, if after the first 7 days of using our system, you are not feeling like this is the absolute best thing I've ever done for my mental health, no problem. You don't pay a thing. Right, and so that's fully unconditional. The only requirements are you must have anxiety that you consider to be fairly severe, so at least a 7 out of 10 or higher. You need to be either a working salaried professional or married to a working salaried professional. And then you also need to be the type of person who's willing to allocate a couple hours a week to implementing our proprietary process. Okay, so if you want to apply, just go ahead and put apply in the comments, or if you're on the podcast afterwards, go ahead and go to mentalhealthcoaching.com and you can apply there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Bye.